Well, you guys, I got pretty sad Chanel news to share with you. An article that was sent to me by one of my followers, who I don't know if they wish to remain anonymous, so I just want to say thank you. You know who you are. An article by mediapart.fr. I will be posting it down below, so you can link to it. It's pay-per-view article, right? So unfortunately, and it's in French, so it's a lot of things. So if you want to read the full article, you know, I'll provide you the link down below. I don't earn any money from the link. It's just that it's a magazine that you have to pay to read. So anyway, I read the article, and boy, oh boy, it ain't good because, well, it ain't good. The article is written by Victor Fievre, or Fevre, Fievre, and then Victor, Victor. Thank you, Victor, for your reporting. I think this is important because the article, I've tried to translate it into English, you know, this is the title translated. Chanel. Luxury bags made in the cold, silence, and contempt. So I'm going to paraphrase this article, and I'm going to tell you where it's at. First, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thumb up this video if you like content like this. Push the join button next to the subscription button if you haven't already, and become a member and gain access to extra perks. You can also join me on Patreon. Superdacob all spelled together for extra perks there as well. Pardon me, I just ate an Easter egg. Easter bunny. Well, Easter chick, anyway. This video is being filmed live in front of a live virtual audience. I live stream several times a week, and you can all join the live streams. I have my co-chatters right here on my sidebar. And, well, the gist of this story is that there is a fictre. There is a fictre of Chanel leather bags, leather goods, not particularly perfumes, but we all remember the Chanel No. 5 fictre from 2022, from Chanel No. 5's 100th birthday celebration. You know, Chanel did this whole kind of factory design, so it kind of suits this topic a little bit. And let me tell you, because what this article says is that there is a factory, Dehumanization, based in Maine-et-Loire, that produces high-end bags for many luxury brands, and they also work for Chanel. And but current or former employees are all complaining about the fact that they were banned from speaking at work. So they're complaining that they were not allowed to talk with each other during work. Frozen hands in winter because they're saying that the rooms were underheated while they were working. And here we are, surprised that the stitching is off. Surprised that the flap is crooked. When a person has frozen hands, how do you think they're supposed to stitch this shit together? Frozen hands in winter and the fear of technical unemployment, all for a salary or a small salary. But they translated small salary into SMIC. I don't know why Google did that, but anyway. So there's several people that go on record in this article, and they list the issues that they're having. Mostly ladies talking and saying that working long hour shifts, 8 or more hours. Well, everything I say in this video is for entertainment purposes only. Just to be very clear, everything's alleged. Just my opinion, not rooted in truths or facts, okay? I am paraphrasing to you what the article reads, and you can click on the link down below and read it yourself. So people are saying that they did not, you know, in winter it's really cold for them and their hands are freezing. They complained to the manager. The manager said, lies. It's allegedly, huh? It's warm enough, 18 degrees. It's the standard. It's not colder than that. I don't want anybody to talk because you got to produce. You got to be efficient at your job. You're being paid to produce. You're not being paid to talk. But if they're sitting next to each other, why can't they talk while they work? Also, when people get employed, they need a 6-month, apparently minimum 6-month training period. But they're alleging that the trainers didn't really come. Oh, yeah. And when the trainers did come, they only came sporadically once every 1 week or every 2 weeks. And they were kind of annoyed and had too much to do and didn't have the time to really dedicate the time to teach the new employees or the people who are studying the craft to actually do it properly. So people are complaining that their colleagues had to show them how to do the stuff, but in silence because they weren't allowed to talk. But there was no other way to do the bags in any sort of way properly without somebody telling you how to do them. So apparently a lot of mistakes were made. They're also complaining for miserable wages. No, less than 15 degrees. Jesus says 18 degrees, that's low. 15 or lower. But the guy said 18 is standard. But anyway, so they were complaining about the wages, they were too low. And they said, this is so sad, like no matter how much we work and we make these bags, we cannot afford to buy them. And they said, when a bag in average at Chanel costs 5,000 euro, it's so expensive that we make them, but our salary doesn't permit us to buy them. And that they are totally disillusioned by the fact that there is no real support within the system for them to do a good job. There were controllers coming. Now, mind you, there's a whole conversation in this article also about the fact that this particular city, which the factory Dacob, based in Maine-et-Loire, produces high-end bags. Okay, so, and it says, the article says that Chanel employed the Dacob factory. And it states that the factory is a small subcontractor and that it was launched in 2021. And it's based in Lyon d'Angers. Sorry for my French people out there. I love you. I'm trying to fight for you here, okay? But apologies for not pronouncing the names correctly. Maine-et-Loire, yeah? And it says that it's 25 kilometers north of Angers. So it is in France, right? This kind of place. The workers say they don't get a lot. They have to wait for the manager to bring in a few hides in his car to start working. They don't know how much leather they can get in. So one worker said, we often get not paid days. They lay us off for 3 or 4 days in a row because there's not enough leather coming in. And apparently the manager drives his car and just takes like 10, 15 hides out of the back trunk of his car. Nobody knows where the leather is coming from, how the leather quality is. And that bit of leather that they get, they got to work with it. And they say they make about 15 bags a day with whatever leather, if any leather arrives that day. And if it doesn't arrive, they don't get paid. And they're so disillusioned by all of this. And they earn very little money. But they can't work anywhere else because, you know, they have to work there. But if there's no leather coming in that day, they're not paid. So their salary gets reduced. So several people are reporting in this article that they stopped working even before the end of their trial period because the conditions were just so poor that they could not handle it. It was really terrible. I don't want to hear about it anymore. She slips in the article. The article states that she slipped. This is a newish factory. As I was reading to you just a minute ago, 2022, it all began. Now, it's part of this municipality that is apparently promoting in this part of France the opening of factories, or they're trying to facilitate more of a development, structural development for luxury, for hides, for leather luxury. And so there's a whole in the article explanation how they stipulate like the payment of the rent, so that basically the companies that move into these factories, that they can buy them out, that they can buy these buildings out for the amount that the city or the municipality paid to produce them. It's kind of like to subsidize the economy of the state or of the municipality. However, the people working there are not satisfied, as per this article, and the conditions are not good. So this is a newish factory, and leather quality at Chanel recently went way down, as we've seen, and as I have been reporting since last year. This factory, 2021, 2022, guess when the problem started? 2022. Now, granted, this factory is in France. A lot of the leather that is really bad at Chanel at the moment is Italy. So if it's going down in France, you can best believe it's probably also going down in Italy. And so the workers say, allegedly, right, that their disappointment with the professional situation that contrasts with the world of luxury to which they contribute through their work. Another lady who's still employed in the company brutally summarizes the situation, says, "We are dehumanized. Bags are more important than humans," she says. So they say that, like I said before, that they manufacture approximately 15 bags a day. And the behavioral pattern of the employees is closely monitored. Discussions are strongly discouraged, they say, or even prohibited. And then they say some were taken over like children by their line manager for exchanging with their workshop neighbors. We don't have the right to speak, they say. And another lady confirms, we arrive, we lower our heads, and we work. To travel, you also have to ask permission, they say. They proceed that they don't have the right to go see a colleague without authorization, even if it's for a professional issue. The boss of the company, Jean-Yves Chatillon, says that these rules are not exceptional, since the employees do not have the need to move. Don't the employees have to move in order to produce something with their hands? I'm mind blown by this, you guys. To justify the ban on discussions, he explains that we must concentrate. It is a high level of requirement. You have to control your fingers and hands. The counterpart of salary is the work that must be done. This is how he justifies the requirements to not allow you to speak. You guys, I mean, Natasha Brown in the chat says, so sad the rich keep getting richer. Honestly, what can you expect if you are not treating the workers right? The quality of the bags will keep going down. Pay them their worth, says Natasha. Caleb says it's given Amazon vibes. Jesus says, if this is true, then Chanel is going to get in big trouble soon. Jason says it's giving factory vibes like it doesn't give luxury. Sweet Thing says in the chats, if the salary was high enough, sure. But for a low salary, no. Blue Marine says, who are they? Who wrote the article? Oh, I said that at the beginning of the video, sweetie. Keep up, darling, or rewind. So, many recent departures have punctuated the 2 years of the small business's life. So people are leaving because, if the conditions are that poor, then people, have the right to also say, hey, I have to like feed myself. I have to feed my family. I have to pay my bills. I have to pay my rent. Like I understand, if people are unhappy with the conditions and if they want to leave. So they say that they, have left. So the factory had apparently 25 employees in 2022. But as of today, and the article was written beginning of April of 2023, there's only 16 employees left. And that's quite a cut. And not being able to find somebody new to come in is also, kind of indicative of the problem. Jason says, this explains the quality getting materials out of the trunk. That is shady. I'm telling you. This is quite embarrassing. Barbara says, allegedly human rights abuse. So sad. Says Barbara. Jason says, I guess you don't want to make made in France bag anymore these days. Well, this is an article that was focusing on this French factory, but wait till they start focusing on the Italian factories. I'm not so sure they're any better. Kayla Daniel says, almost no coverage about workers in the luxury world. Thank you for exposing this. Kyla Daniel, I'll do you one better. I'm actually trying to figure out how to work on another video. But I'm going to mention it here because it is kind of connected and because we're speaking about Italy. So I just was sent a link to the Fendi video and their newly opened factory that they started working on somewhere in Tuscany, I believe, back in 2020. So it took them 2 or 3 years to finalize the factory. And they invited Brian Boy, of all people, to promote the factory. And there's a whole video on the Fendi YouTube channel where he goes in and he's walking there like a boss. It's so cringe. But anyway, he's like walking through like, oh my God, Fendi's so amazing. Fendi's so amazing. The factory, they're trying to sell us this clean corporate aseptic look. All the people that work there are happy. They have their little, Fendi jackets, their working jackets, their professional gear. The bags are made with attention to detail. Everybody's wearing gloves. Everything is so slow and there's care for attention to detail. And that factory is giving me total prototype vibes. Like it's a place where you analyze the new designs, where you try to figure stuff out. You make the prototype for the fashion show, you make the samples, and then that factory, it doesn't seem like it's functioning in a way that it can produce the amount of Fendi bags that are sold worldwide. So something has to be sourced out, allegedly. This is my speculation. And we can talk about that, but what really stuck to me, and the fact that Brian Boy played along with this, not cool. Not cool at all. Like, just like you're selling out to the industry. So what happened was they probably gave him a whole marketing text that he had to read for this. It's a Fendi video after all. They paid him to come by and act all, And so in one of the points of the video that irked me the most, he said that, it takes a long time for these artisans to, learn the craft and, Fendi wants to keep the good artisans there. It takes many years to teach them, so they don't want to lose them. However, there's this whole other conversation going, by the way, Fendi blocked the comments, so you can't comment under that video. Isn't that interesting that you can't comment under that video? I wonder why. Usually when somebody blocks comments under their video on YouTube, it's because, well, isn't that a little bit sus? Don't you have something to hide? Just a question. I'm asking, do you have something to hide? Are you afraid that people might write something under that video? Like, for instance, this reporter that was writing a couple of years ago, another article I found, about how the artisans of Italy are dying out because these major brands are paying all of these artisans to leave their privately owned little businesses, or they try to headhunt all their workers so that they go out of business, so that they can buy them out. They can buy their companies for cheap. And then what happens? Now, this is the point. I'm connecting the dots here. Brian Boyce says every artisan in this factory is specialized in one task only. Now, Brian Boyce says it and is probably told to say it to us as if that were a good thing. You know, for example, okay, I have a Chanel bag here for the purpose of this video, but, you know, we're talking Fendi. So if this were a Fendi bag, the idea is, he says, well, there's one artisan who's responsible for putting on the turn lock. Then the bag goes to the next artisan. The next artisan is specialized in putting the chain on the bag, and that's all they do. And then the next artisan is specialized in putting the grommets. Every artisan has one specialty. And of course, in the video, they're trying to make it sound like that's a good thing. But if you really stop to think for a moment, you will realize that that is a terrible thing. Why is that a terrible thing? I'm gonna tell you. If these big brands are trying to headhunt all the workers into their own businesses, into their own corporate structures, it's in the interest of these big corporations to never let these people go. But it's in the interest of these people to one day, if they love their job, start their own business. But isn't it a little bit sneaky of these big companies to educate a worker to know how to do only one thing? You know what that means? If you know how to do only one part of this bag, you will never be independent. You will never be able to say, I'm going to start my own business, because you won't know how to make the rest of the bag. You, in other words, become dependent on the company you're working for. And the audacity to state in that Fendi video that it's a good thing that every worker, they didn't say it's a good thing, but they said it with like, oh, and you guys, every worker is specialized in one thing. Isn't this, you know, like it's a special thing? This is how you take their freedom away from them. This is how you take the workers' freedom away from them. This is how you make them. It's a hard word to even say. You enslave them this way. Fendi, I see you. I see you. Not allowing comments under your video? No opportunity for growth, says Blue Bannisters. Caleb said, yeah, that immediately gave me pause. Major red flag. So, yes, we have an issue with this one factory today. The allegations of this one factory in France that does not just Chanel, but also other brands, as they say. But we also have brand-owned factories that the way that they describe themselves and how they deal with their workers, it's major red flag. So, also, this other article from back in the day, from several years ago, which I also have here, that was doing some research outside of, you know, big centers of Italy and all those factories, also stated that their research has led them to find out, you know, people spilling tea behind the scenes, allegedly, saying that a lot of the workers are brought in from China or from Africa to work in the subsidiary places to produce en masse the bags. So you do have the main factory, whatever brand, we're not talking about any brand in particular now, that make a couple of the bags in good quality, but then there's the sourcing out of the mass production. Within the mass production, the allegations are that the luxury brand, whatever luxury brand, produces set amount of bags, paying workers poor wages, sweatshops, we're talking immigrants, illegal immigrants sometimes. And they make a huge amount of these bags, but since they're not good at the job because nobody's teaching them, and plus they're getting miserable salaries, if any at all, you know, to be able to live off of, most of the bags are poor quality. The allegation continues by saying that those bags that don't pass the final test, they're still sold under counterfeit. Internal hidden regulations, where then the article claims that the mafia is involved in. and is kind of dealing with this. So all of these counterfeit bags then go, all of those allegedly everything, all of those, you know, black guys that are kind of sitting on the piazzas all over Italy with their little blanket on the floor, and you know, these are African dudes that don't have a job, and that's what they do. Apparently hired also by illegal means to actually sell, yes, counterfeit bags, but that are apparently produced in the same sweatshops that also produce the authentic ones, but that don't pass the quality control. It is such a complex, vicious circle, and it is so secretive. There is so much hidden in all of this that we're just scraping the surface, y'all. This is just scraping the tip of the iceberg. And who knows what the future will bring. But I do believe people are waking up. And I do believe that people are trying to understand more and more, like, okay, hold on a minute. Like, something is off here. Now, to rein it back into Chanel. Chanel has a factory outside of Paris, like one of their most known factories, where they have like that huge bag as a sculpture as you arrive to the factory. It's also the place where they invite all their, you know, sales staff when they come to visit the factories. They show them that place. It's a special place. And yes, a lot of bags are also get made there. And this is what I believe. With Chanel, I do believe you have to be lucky in terms of which factory produces your bag. You see? I don't think, you know, that it's all bad. There's a lot to improve upon, Chanel. Like, you have to fix a lot of stuff. But there is that one factory outside of Paris that is owned by Chanel since a long time already. If you're lucky enough that when you go to a Chanel boutique, you actually get a bag that was made in that factory, and made by one of the more mature, seasoned craftspeople that work in that factory, I do believe the bag you will get is going to be that luxury, top-notch quality. But my question to you is a customer supposed to play the lottery when they are ready to shell out $10,000 for a bag? And the lottery being, am I going to be sold a bag that was made in the good factory, or am I going to be sold a bag that was made in the not good factory? They both cost $10,000 plus tax, but am I going to play that lottery? Should I be playing that lottery for that? I don't think so. No, I think the standard has to be the same for every bag in a luxury environment. If I'm going to buy the Timeless Classic double flap, and you see, we had this conversation a year ago. Do you remember the issue with the corner stitch? How there were a couple of bags that had a corner stitch to the side when they shouldn't, because the small is made like this with that open stitch at the bottom here. You see how this kind of diamond is longer here than here? By the way, for the medium, this applies up here on the flap. The last bit here on the flap is elongated for the medium. For the small, it's the bottom. And there are small Timeless Classic double flaps that actually have a stitch going through there. Why is there no consistency? Well, maybe it's because of that factory that they're coming from instead of the main factory. Because this one that I got in 2015 from the Chanel boutique is immaculate. This bag is the bomb, diggity. I do believe this one was made in the right place. But then again, I've seen Timeless Classic small double flaps lately. Travesty. The leather quality, not up to my standards, honey. Just saying. AS says, actually, that's likely how counterfeits are getting so good. Fired Chinese artisans go back home and set up counterfeit manufacture. They know where to source leather, design, blueprints, etc., says AS in the chats. Joyful Remorse says, there used to be a famous counterfeiter in China who would buy authentic bags, take them apart, and use that to make fakes. he would then put the authentic bag back together and sell it at a reduced price. Interesting. Shelby Tanazi says, I'm afraid that this is not the exception, but the rule. We all have consumed goods that more often than not are produced in unethical ways. That is the nature of capitalism as intended. A very, very sober analysis, I would say. Very sober analysis. What can I tell you guys? To me, these brands do have a heritage for beauty, for design, for aesthetic. They do make beautiful objects. There's so much potential for them to do great things. There's so much potential for them to be great. Do better, do better. Just do better. Do you really need almost $5 billion dividends paid out to one or two people every year or every other year in revenue on top of the revenue? Like, do you really are we handing billions to just a handful of people now? And everybody else suffers. The client suffers because the quality suffers. The worker suffers because the conditions are poor. Like, why can't everybody be happy? Why can't the quality be amazing? And why can't the workers be paid well and fair for the amount of money that's coming in through the cost of these goods? Chanel has a wonderful heritage. I love Chanel. It breaks my heart to read these articles and to have to return leather bags that are faulty, like has happened to me with the second edition of the 22 bag for the Métier d'Art collection last year. Started peeling after 20 minutes of wearing it. I made that video on my channel. Go check it out. Like, really? Are we like, we're at that point? The Nectarine Man says the answer is greed. The Higginbotham says greed rules. Nettie says nobody can need or spend $5 billion per year. It's absurd and obscene. Caleb says, I'm not surprised, but I'm certainly disappointed. D. Higginbotham says, did you ever get the red bag back? Now, you guys know, some of you might know, last year I also had an issue with a Chanel clutch on chain in red caviar with gold hardware. Small one with a long chain to be worn crossbody. The caviar leather was just painted in red. It started chipping off after a couple of times of wear, and the leather started cracking because the paint on top of the leather was too thick. I mean, a mess. And I brought the bag back. They sent it off for evaluation and repairs. 6 months later, actually 6.5 months later, I finally got some news. If you're interested in that news, subscribe to my channel and stick around for the continuation, because you're in for a treat, because I do have news. And this is a cliffhanger like no other. Trust you me. This one's going to shock you. Follow me on Instagram, DacobCC, all spelled together, for my Chanel journey, but also on my superdacob backup, all spelled together, Instagram account, where you get to see a lot of the photos. I show them sometimes before the videos actually hit my channel. So you get to get informed about all of this stuff behind the scenes. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thumb up this video, subscribe, and never give up on love. Bye.